And the 2023-24 Columbus Catholic Dons are etched in history as Division V state champions.
Here with Columbus Catholic boys head basketball coach Joe Konieczny. Coach, I want to talk about timeline a little bit, but first something that you and I have done a couple of times. Just start us off with telling us how many years you've been coaching basketball here, and then what keeps you coming back every year.
Well, it's year 21 at Columbus, and what keeps me coming back is a belief in the school and the relationships I have with players. You know, right now it's Christmas break, and a number of alumni have come back to see family and to get to talk to 25 or 30 of them over Christmas and to share memories and stories and to really get an understanding or kind of have it reiterated to me that their time here meant a lot to them, and that we've developed some lifelong friendships is really special to me. And it's really why you do it. You know, I was always taught as a young person, you want to chase the things that money can't buy. And I think coaching basketball has given me a lot of those things, and it's why I do it for sure.
A couple of years ago, you said you coached for the money. You've changed your stance on that.
that was a joke, Jason.
Yes, it was.
You know, you don't get rich doing this, but you do get rich with memories and relationships and things that you just can never, ever replace. So I'm very grateful.
It was a good joke. We put it as an outtake in
yes,
that interview that particular year. It was fun, though, and you're a fun guy to be around. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, and that's part of why we talk. You know, let people know you that are outside of the program watching this, just to get to know you a little bit. The last time you and I talked about a coaching milestone, you told me, you know, the players are really what makes that happen. You recorded your 400th win in school history just a couple of days ago. So tell us again how the players made that happen for you.
Well, they worked very hard. They're very talented. You know, I learned early in my career that coaching is a little bit overrated. You have to have young men that are willing to put some time in, and we've had a lot of those over my 21 years. So to win that many games at one school, I do believe that it has more to do with them than with me. You know, I'm always willing to open the gym, always willing to go to another summer tournament. I'm willing to run another camp, but all those kids showed up all those years, and for me that number represents memories, not necessarily wins. I don't think you start out coaching I'm looking for anything from a statistical standpoint or a numerical standpoint. You're just doing it because you love it and it's fun, and those young men have given me a lot, and I'm very appreciative of that.
400 wins, 21 years, a state championship, a state runner-up, multiple sectionals, conference championships, regional championships, all that kind of thing. Now let's go back to the 4 years here as a student athlete. We've got the championship trophy right back here. Just what were some of those memories? And you know, when you're coaching on this floor, and we'll get to your kids here in a minute, but you're coaching on the same floor that you got to play on. How special is that?
It's very special, and when I look back at being a student athlete here, again, it's about friendships. We had some really talented athletes in our school at that time. I was the beneficiary of that. I've never told anybody that, you know, I won a state championship. I had a lot to do with Jason Linsmeyer and Richie Seubert and Mark Mino and J.R. Banks and Mike Weister and guys more talented and more athletic than me. But what we did have was a camaraderie and a friendship. You know, those guys come back for the golf outing every year. They'll send a text after a game, and they're lifelong friends. And it's really what I want our players here to have is 30 years after you spent some time in a locker room, you look back and say, oh, I got some people that would do anything for me the rest of my life. And that's what high school sports is about, and I think that's what Columbus does a really good job of giving to young people.
You mentioned Richie Seubert, not only a state champion while he was in high school in multiple sports, but a two-time Super Bowl champion at the same time. What was it like growing up with Richie? Old number 69.
He was a fun guy. To this day, we text or talk regularly, and he hasn't changed. And that's what the message to our student athletes here now is he has a Super Bowl ring and played 10 years in the NFL, but he never changed as a person. And the second you need something or need anything, he's the first guy to text or reach out or check on you, and he is the same person he was at 17 or 18 years old. I think his parents and family had a lot to do with that, which is kind of how we've been blessed here at Columbus too, with some great families. But I don't want these young men to ever change. You know, stay humble no matter what you do, good or bad. This too shall pass, and hopefully you've had some things instilled in you from a character standpoint and from a perseverance standpoint that whatever you do, you're going to be okay in life, and that's what we want for everybody.
Over the years, Mr. Seubert will message me from time to time, usually after a basketball win, so we know he's watching you and your team play. I'm sure you already knew that. Richie went to Rich when he went to college. Joey went to Joe. Why and when?
Probably when I moved back to Marshfield. That's something that started when I was 5 or 6 years old. Everybody called me Joey. And then I went to Milwaukee for school and moved back when I was about 23 or 24. And it became Joe, a little bit more professional, a little bit more adult-like. But once in a while, somebody that knew me when I was a young person will say Joey and get some reaction. And either one is fine with me. A lot of memories with both names for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But there's a graduation of sorts with that. And yeah, every now and then you and I, after a basketball game, I'll hear somebody say, "Hey, Joey," and we look, and it's somebody maybe a little bit older than us, and somebody.
Yeah, usually somebody that knew me when I was a young child. So.
So speaking of young children and young kids, we'll transition now to you as a coach, as a dad. We've got the trophies behind us. State champion with Emmitt as a senior, and with Mac as a sophomore. Just reflect on that time and how unique and that was, a dad, a coach, a mentor, a state champion with 2 sons.
Pretty crazy to think about. I never dreamt of it. I think I've said that before, but you don't think it's ever going to happen. That season in particular, our family had a car accident early in the season. Emmitt missed 9 games, and perspective changed a lot. I don't know that we win that championship had that car accident not happened. I tell our players a lot, for 18 seasons, my number 1 goal was to try to win a state championship. And that was the focus, and if you didn't do it, you felt a little bit like a failure. But then you're driving to Neenah with your son in a helicopter and your wife in an ambulance, and it no longer matters how many games you've won or winning a trophy. And I think once the focus became on just being appreciative of the opportunity to compete with each other, it took pressure off. It changed a lot of things. And once we started to focus on the right things, the championship came. So we're going to try to do a better job of that going forward. And it was a memory I'll never forget, something we'll talk about for the rest of our lives. But hopefully that's 10, 15 years from now and when I'm done coaching. But I just still can't believe it happened, to be honest with you.
And pretty rare, you as a student athlete, state champion in basketball, and then some years later, you're a state champion with the 2 boys. I don't know, there are probably others in the state of Wisconsin that have claimed that, but you're in some pretty rare air with that.
I'm just blessed. I again give the credit to others, and I'm very, very blessed that I've gotten to experience those things.
Out the door, last heavy one here, Coach, and we'll talk about this year's team. Out the door in the entryway is a plaque in remembrance of Walt Kroll. An outstanding figure here, a greater man than he was a coach. I got to know Coach when I was a kid. I don't think there's any stretch, though, to say that at some point there would be a plaque next to Coach Kroll's that says Joe Konieczny. When and if that happens, how does you had a facial reaction? Right? What does that mean to you?
I'm not comfortable being compared to him. He to me, maybe it's because of knowing him when I was young and the time period he had an influence on me. I don't think anybody deserves to be compared to that man. He was here 31 years. I watched what he did for our school system and for those people he coached, and not just the ones he coached, but the ones he influenced during the school day. And if I could have 1/10 the impact on people that he did, I would consider my life a pretty huge success. He passed away my junior year of high school, so I was able to observe him for 2 or 2.5 years as a student, a little bit more than that as a middle schooler. But to think of what he did for this place, I think we have a real responsibility, those that followed him, to continue the legacy that he created. And if when I'm done here we can look back and say we built on what he did, and maybe he'd be proud of it, it's kind of the goal. And I'm hoping that he's looking down saying I'm proud of that school, and thanks for carrying on some of the things I did.
Talk about a program as we move into the 2025-2026 season. There are a lot of schools that participate in high school boys basketball in the state of Wisconsin and across the country for that matter. that don't have a program. They'll have a dad or a staff member or a volunteer, and they'll come in as coach, and a year or two later somebody else, and it's just this constant revolving door, and the school or community may wonder why we don't have success like maybe Columbus Catholic or somebody else does. And the reason is you've built a program here. So let's just, for the folks at home, when do you first get to become, at what age, a dribbling Don? When does that start?
I think right now it's 4K. For a long time it was kindergarten, so those 3 grades, I think 4K, K in first grade, second grade come in at 9 o'clock every Saturday. They do ball handling and some layups, and we shoot on lower rims for a while, play some one-on-one, and just really try to teach them that basketball is fun. And then 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, we start going to tournaments, and the middle school plays a conference schedule, and it's kind of set up like a curriculum would be educationally. You know, there's certain things you want to teach young people in 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and we've tried to do that with basketball, where at certain ages you want to develop certain skills, and then in high school, if we've done a really good job at the lower grades, we don't have to spend so much time on skill development. We can get into some higher level things, but you know, I think you want your best teachers in the lower grades. Somebody told me that once. Because those are kind of the foundational years of everything. So we've tried to do that with our basketball program as well, where we make sure those people in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade get some of our best coaches, just so the foundation is very strong. And it's worked out, but the consistency is big, just having the same high school staff or coaches for 20 or 21 years. Young people know what to expect. I think there's less change, and it's been a good thing for our school for sure.
Yeah, imagine that. At a place of learning, we're also learning this other skill, and why my estimation, why you and your program have had the success that you've had is 21 years of you, and then kids learning the fundamentals from now as early as 4 or 5 years old. So dribbling Dons move on through the system, and eventually they become varsity basketball players. So let's talk about the varsity basketball players on this year's team. We don't have to go through all 14 or 15 of them, but just you saw them as dribbling Dons, and now you see them as varsity basketball players. Just tell us about the group that you have now.
Well, I think it says a lot about them to start at kindergarten, 1st grade, and to be here as seniors, finishing it together. I'm really, really proud of those boys and their families for them to give me the time they have with their children in the off season, during the season. Now as a parent with young people moving on to college, what you really realize is that the most valuable thing you have is time with your children. And there's been a lot of parents at Columbus over 20 years that gave me their most valuable thing is time with their kids. And for them to sacrifice the way they have and to see that there's something valuable in what we're doing with them in our basketball program, I'm very grateful for that. But anytime a senior graduates, we hang a poster, we give them their jersey, which they can have framed and take home. But I want them to know that that took a commitment from them and their families, and it's something they should be very, very proud of.
You started the year in the Bound Wisconsin Zaleski Sports poll as #1. You continue to be the #1 ranked team. I know you'll give me some coach answer that you don't care about that. Instead, tell me, what are the expectations you have for this year's team?
I know it sounds like coach speak, but we want to get better today at practice. And I just think if you start to look ahead, to day 7 or day 10 or to the playoffs or even 4 or 5 games ahead, it's really going to cost you. And every coach that's done it for any amount of time will tell you that if you start to look ahead, it could really be detrimental today. So I think we have the capability to do some special things, to compete for a conference championship, to make a run in the playoffs. But I don't want to think about that today when we need to focus on laying the one brick that is going to be the foundation of tomorrow. So I want these young guys to know that at the end of this, I did everything I could for the person next to me. And I can be at peace with it because my effort was pure and it was unselfish.
Undefeated so far. You've got some conference wins mixed in there. At the end of January, if you allow me to fast forward to there, how will the people that are watching your program from near and afar, how will they know that things are going according to Coach Konieczny's plan this year?
I think we're playing hard and we're playing really good defense. Offense is kind of fool's gold. Sometimes shots go in and sometimes they don't, but if we can play consistent on the defensive end and make sure that that's always there, that'll tell you it's going well. If our defensive effort doesn't sustain and we start to give up larger scores or easy baskets, then things are not going well. And it's something we work on very hard, and hopefully it's something that continues because it's been really good the first 5 games.
And lastly, you've got a few months left with son Mac on this year's team. He's going to go on to a baseball season and a collegiate career. But what are some of those things, those bondings yet that are going to happen, and things that maybe you're just looking forward to having these last months with Mac?
Oh, it's a special thing. You know, I think I started this right about the time Emmitt was born. I think he was born my first season here. And, you know, in year 15, Emmitt came, and it was like, oh, wow, the next 6 years are going to be crazy, because it is a different dynamic. But now to be in year 6 of having your sons on the team, and it's about to be over, something I'm very, very grateful for. I'm probably more grateful to their mother for all the sacrifices she's made for the 3 of us to have all these memories. And she's been a huge part of it too. You know, she keeps book for the games, and she's had to sacrifice a lot so the 3 of us could do this. And I'm very, very appreciative, and just trying to soak up every day that I get to have him, not only as a player but as a son, because when he moves in August and they're both gone, it's going to be a hard thing.
As Konieczny ties his career high from distance, as the Dons take a timeout, and we'll do the same.
We move to Matt Konieczny, senior, Columbus Catholic Dons basketball player right now, football player in the fall, baseball season coming up, but we're going to talk basketball right now. You've been in this gym a long time. You may not remember, but I certainly remember a number of years ago, you and probably your brother run around jacking up threes here in this gym. Just what does it feel like now as a senior, being in a place that you've been your whole life?
You know, it's pretty cool, you know, watching, like, as a young kid, all the people we look up to, like Tyler Furlinger, Hunter Schultz, all those guys coming in here, and like us before games just shooting, and now being the ones that people look up to. It's really cool to see.
Tyler Furlinger got every rebound that came his way. Tell me about your rebounding prowess.
Yeah, so I'm not much of a rebounder, you know, kind of short. So I kind of stay out toward the three-point line and get the long ones that run out and just try to get to the corner, see if I can get an open shot.
We kind of bounce around here a little bit, but that's kind of a fun comparison. Yeah, he had some height, and he had a little bit of beef down there too, all right? No doubt, he was a different kind of guy. A couple of trophies behind us here. You know, in 2019, you were on the bench at the Kroll Center, just helping out on the team, right?
Yep.
You were how old then?
5th grade, I think.
5th grade, okay. What did that do when you got on the floor at the Kroll Center then a few years later? You'd already kind of been there, but, you know, as a 5th grader, was there anything that you were able to remember from that time that you kind of had some comfort?
Well, yeah, I remember being down there, you know, and being in the locker room after they lost. It was pretty sad, you know, everybody was heartbroken. I was heartbroken, of course, because my dad's the coach. That just, like, comes with it. So, like, I remember that, just being in the locker room. And when I got on the floor, I was like, I didn't want to feel that again. So I, like, tried to be my best and not lose.
Right. Well, I mean, right, you're stacking up the towels over here, and you're putting the water bottles away, and it's like, oh, man, you know. But you knew what was going on. You've been a sports kid your whole life. I guess tell me about that as a sports fan, you know, whether you're watching, you know, the Packers or the Brewers or whatever. Just tell me about your history as just being a sports fan.
You know, yeah, I watch a lot of sports, you know, college basketball. I'm really big into that right now. St. John's, Rick Pitino. Watch a lot of them. Not doing well right now, but hopefully they turn around before the tournament. I'm a Viking fan. A lot of people make fun of me for that, but, you know, my mom's from North Dakota, so she just has the Vikings in her, and I'm a Viking fan, so I've kind of taken that over. My whole family is. My dad went over to the Vikings when Brett Favre went over. He gets made fun of that a lot too, but, you know.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, and Brewers, I'm a big Brewer fan. You know, Emmitt and I went to Game 1 against the Cubs this year. That was electric. It was just a lot of fun, and I love watching sports.
Vikings won yesterday on Christmas. They won with 51 yards passing. Explain that to me.
No idea. It was hard to watch, honestly. But, you know, their defense is great. Brian Flores does a great job, so I like watching their defense.
Yeah. Well, they beat my Cowboys the week prior, so
yeah.
I saw that defense in action. Back to basketball. So, brother Emmitt's a senior. You're a sophomore. Back on the floor of the Kroll Center. Gold ball sits behind us. What are one or two of those memories just kind of during that game as things? I mean, that was a very competitive game. All right, Abundant Life Christian, they were a worthy opponent for sure. Just what were some of the memories that you have about that game?
Yeah, there's quite a few that jump out. You know, coming out of halftime, I just remember sitting on the bench watching Emmitt hit like 4 threes or 3 threes in a row. That was pretty fun to watch. And you know, I didn't have a huge role in the team, but I knew if I went in, I had to play defense to my hardest and, you know, get a rebound or two and move the ball and just set screens.
So you've been without Emmitt for a couple years. What does he tell you now?
You know, he tells me, like, stay in my head, you know. I'm very emotional. I have a lot of passion for the game, so he tells me, like, stay in control of my mind and just stay, like, flat throughout the course of the game, not too high, not too low, and just play my game.
Game 4, I think it was here. You tie his record three-point shooting, 10 threes made in the game. What did he tell you that night?
He could have made one more. I think I remember going to my phone and seeing that message, and then I was like, you know, I guess not, I just had to tie you.
Well, you could have made one more, but Dad put you on the bench for the final 9 minutes of the game, so that didn't help.
No, it didn't. But, you know, we were up a significant amount, and he didn't want to risk me getting hurt, but I did miss about 5 in the second half. So I think he told me he should have made one of those, and you could have broken it. So
I think the tape will prove that, right?
Yeah.
We can't hide from that. Well, congratulations. It's a great record. Team goals. Let's talk about team goals for the season. You know, I'll say you've got a state caliber team, so I'll relieve you of that. What are some of the other team goals that you have, you know, coming up in the next few weeks?
You know, team goals. Most of our players who are on varsity now were on the team that went to state on the bench, so like they know what it takes to win. So I think that's like one of our main goals. But you know, we're just trying to have fun and just try to like make memories together.
Yeah, make memories. Some memories as a senior. When I was a senior, most of the memories were made on the bus rides. So let's go through some things. Who's in charge of the music on the bus ride home?
Me.
You are. What are you playing? What's coming on?
Whatever anybody tells me to put on.
Oh, okay, so you just take requests.
Yes.
You don't
But
have
I
your own
usually
playlist.
it's usually controlled from my phone. So.
Okay. So you don't have a playlist, but you'll take requests.
Yeah, I have a
Get that taken
playlist
care.
from Grant Olson my freshman year. I think he handed it down to Emmitt, but I think he got it from Kroll, who handed it down to Grant, who handed it down to Emmitt, who now I have it.
So that long ago, we've got Carly Rae Jepsen, Call Me Maybe. That's probably on the list somewhere.
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe.
There's a few playlists.
Who knows?
Playlists.
Who gets on the bus and who's kind of the clown coming on the bus?
That's a tough one, you know.
Maybe there's more than one.
Usually before games, everybody's kind of locked in. After the game,
Yeah,
after the game, usually it's one of the JV sophomores. You know, Roe Wheeler, he's got quite the humor. Cade Jansen, he's a funny guy. Yeah, Carter, Ben, we're all pretty funny.
Yeah. On the way there on the bus, who's in charge of getting everybody locked in?
I wouldn't say anyone really. I feel like we all kind of just do that ourselves, put headphones on or something. A lot of people play Clash Royale on the way there, so if that's your way of getting locked in, I guess it works.
Right. Well, you got to get it in your mind, right?
Yeah.
You got to get that stuff sorted out. Xbox or whatever the gaming system's on, what are you putting in? What are you playing?
I'd play some Minecraft. Me and Ben and Devlin and Ryan Burnick have quite the Minecraft world going, so we've been on that for about 8 months now. We get made fun of sometimes at practice by Coach K, but you know, it's fun to us. And
Who's the best Madden player on the team?
I don't know. I don't think a lot of us play Madden.
Okay.
But I'd say Carter. Carter's probably the best Madden player.
There was a guy. Call of Duty.
Cade.
Why?
Cade, I don't
That was
know.
a quick answer. Why?
Yeah. I mean, he's really good at Fortnite, so I'd just say he's probably good at that too.
All right. Let's get back into basketball here a little bit. I mean, as far as you're concerned, senior year, you know, what do you want to get accomplished this senior year? You know, it's your last chance here.
Yeah, I just want to make the most memories and have the most fun as I can playing basketball with my friends who I've grown up with. I just want to make the most memories and have the most fun as humanly possible with my last year with them.
Okay. And then tell me about your coach. How much on the practice floor is he coach, and how much is he dad on the basketball floor?
Yeah, we try to keep the family and coach out of, like, we try to keep coach us during basketball and family at home, but sometimes we talk basketball at home, and I think it's nice to have that, you know, like create like relationship like with your coach kind of like that, and I feel like the communication part of it is a little better because like I feel comfortable talking to him and saying what I feel, and I just think that's nice.
Do you think that gives you a positive advantage with the other guys too, that you have coach at home and you can help them out?
Yeah, I feel like it does. I feel like that gives you like another step of leadership that I could take and like talk to them about what he says and like the insight he gives me about like what we can do better.
Okay, we'll wrap this up here. We're talking about basketball, but according to all reports, baseball is your #1 sport. So tell me about baseball and what it is about baseball.
You know, I like baseball. I don't know why I like baseball. My dad never played growing up, but he kind of put us into that, and I just think it's a really fun and competitive sport. I like catching, So I'm like always in the play, doing the dirty work back there, but I love it, and it's just like something about the game, being out on that field with my friends that I love.
And I think there's a thought, maybe dual sport in college, football field kicker. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I might go to Lakeland, try to play or kick for football and play baseball in the spring. But, you know, it'll be a tough thing with fall baseball and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know how I learned to kick, but I'm just kind of good at it, so I'm going to try to do that.
I mean, why? I mean, when did you first realize I can kick the ball through those uprights? In
about 5th grade, playing kickball in gym class. I was just kicking a lot of home runs, and then tried it at youth football practice one night, and I just somehow was good at it, and I just have done it ever since.
All right. Let's end with this. We'll end on something a little bit fun. Talk about three-point shooting. We heard from somebody else in town over at the other high school about barbecue chicken and how things can just get so easy sometimes. It's just like eating and eating barbecue chicken. It looks easy for you sometimes. So tell me why it's not easy being the sharpshooter that you are at times.
Yeah, you know, there's always usually a guy in your face, like most times. And it's just like all the hours you put in, the work you put in. Like this past week, Emmitt's been home, so we've been in the gym every morning, every night, like just putting in a lot of work on shooting and ball handling. So it's like people see you on the court making threes, but they don't see like the work you put into it.
Sometimes does it feel like barbecue chicken, where you're just feasting?
Sometimes. It definitely did that one night, so.
Good luck this year.
Thank you.
As Konieczny ties his career high from distance as the Dons take a timeout and will do the same.
Those are some husband bonus points for those of you watching at home.
All true, though, all true.
Yeah.